Hi, everybody. Let me check to see if we are on. This is part two today. Q&A. Q&A on the day that County Attorney Prosecutor Bernal resigns. Joanne Bernal resigns. A very big day, 1,363 days. No signs of life for Richard. And yeah, we're going to the first live was just addressing this major news, and I'm very grateful for it because there were several statements and misrepresentations being made on the first live in the comments section. Of course, Bob Moore came on. I don't know if it was Bob Moore. It said Bob Moore, and started, posting things, but then decided to delete it all, which makes sense considering his position in all of this. But it would have been nice if he could have contacted us personally after almost a dozen times trying to contact him for his help, and him ignoring us. Also participating in some up to no good things and using a Dreams Cabaret convicted criminal Lilani Hart and also Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia to interfere with our son's case. So, um, yeah, and then to not want to respond officially with us, through email, through the phone, or whatever, but then come on my live stream. That's weird. I don't know if it was him, though. I don't know. It could have been somebody else with all of this identity theft going on and these fake accounts. So it's fake news. If that was him or not, I don't know. Fake news, fake accounts. Fake news, fake accounts. I should have named this live stream Fake News, Fake Accounts, um, by Bob Moore. By Bob Moore. Let's put it straight. By Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, that is owned by El Paso Community Foundation. Okay. So lots of stuff going on. Let me see. And sorry if I'm a little bit spicy today, but that yeah. Okay, let's start. And I see that I'm on, and I hope that you can hear me. It seems like the sound, I hope. It sounds like it's good. Okay. So let me prop this up. So I can see all comments now, and I'm so bad at looking at the comments, and I'm very sorry about that. Just trying to stay focused on Richard's case, and part of doing this live stream is, of course, to keep Richard's case alive, to say his name, because if you want a secret, this was not my idea, but I thought it was right on target. If you want to keep a secret, if you want a secret kept, if you have top secret information, if you're the CIA, if you're, in the FBI, if you're top secret clearance, just add Richard Halliday's name onto your file and it will stay a secret, right? It'll stay secret because, they don't want to mention, the authorities do not want to mention, the law enforcement community do not want to mention Richard Halliday's name. It's very, very clear on that. And why? What did Richard report? He absolutely is a confirmed whistleblower. So our question is, give us the open records. Tell us what he was reporting on, specifically those were Belen Rocha, right? But with who? Because um, he turned in sex videos, video recordings. And we know by Belen Rocha's admission, she was in there. Okay, she was part of it. And so, with who, right? So this is a big deal. Okay, let me go to my notes because this is a Q&A to some of the statements that were made or earlier or questions that were made earlier, and I just want to clarify what I found out during the little break there. So let me go to my notes. I should have had them open, but hey, I'm just glad to be here. Glad that County Attorney Prosecutor Joanne Bernal, that she resigned. She resigned, and the implications, we're still trying to figure out the implications to all of that, because it is really very, very important. Let's see, go down to the bottom. So much stuff is happening. Okay, here it is. So Ruth Teller. I don't know who Ruth Teller is, and earlier today she was saying the next district attorneys. Oh, that's the second part. Let me go to the first part. It says here, just to clarify, there is no such thing as an amicus notice. Ruth, I'm sorry to tell you, but absolutely, and we filed one. An amicus brief has a brief attached to it. This was an amicus curiae notice, a notice. We didn't have a brief. We were giving notice to this SB4 case, which now, I don't know what's going to happen with it all. Who's going to, because it was County Attorney Joanne Bernal that it absolutely can be a prosecutor, that was bringing that forward to the federal courts that brought that. So I don't know what all is going to happen, because I can see why she resigned, because she may be arrested. She may be arrested. I mean, see, this is how this just domino effects and just makes people up to no good because of the other criminals that are allowed to start these criminal networks, and it just grows and grows. And here you have Joanne Bernal now participating, because I didn't really quite know who she was, but she's been up to no good. Okay, clearly she's been up to no good, and now the chickens are coming home to roost, so to speak. And she has this case, the SB4, that she brought forward to sue Governor Abbott and Bill Hicks, the DA for the 34th Judicial District. Well, the problem is that she did not ask Francisco Ortega. Is that what his name is? Yeah. Francisco, that's an interesting name. Is he related to Belen Rocha Ortega? Whatever. I don't know. But, every time I see something like that in El Paso, it's, and especially in law enforcement, it makes me, wonder. And then, you have to go and research it. But Francisco Ortega is the attorney for Bill Hicks. And so, all that Joanne Bernal had to do was to contact him and say, I want to see Bill Hicks's credentials. That's, let me see his credentials as district attorney. But we have found out through this weekend, after our amicus notice, which is absolutely, I'm sorry, Ruth, but you are absolutely wrong. We did file an amicus notice. It was not an amicus brief. And you can look that up, the difference between an amicus brief and an amicus notice, which is absolutely all possible, and it happens all the time, and you just have to Google it. So, that was really easy to find. So, and of course, we put it together. So we had to look at different examples of amicus notices because it's a certain format that you have to follow, and the print has to be at 13p, and it just has to be just right spacing, double spacing for most of it. So it absolutely, we looked it up, and it's not called an amicus brief because that would be a brief attached. This is an amicus notice of that Bill Hicks. We have proof that Bill Hicks is a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, that he is illegitimate, and therefore he cannot be a party to the SB4 case. Okay, that was the notice. A little bit more than that, but pretty simple. That's what it was. And it's out there for everyone to see. So that handles that statement. Then, of course, well, we sent it in, and it says there's not one, from the Halliday family. It is. There's one from the Halliday family. So, I don't know what, you're not looking in the right place or whatever. So, the next statement is district attorneys don't investigate anything. Okay, so we looked that up. Absolutely. They have the power to investigate. They also have the power to arrest. So I don't know who this Ruth Teller is, but she is spreading misinformation. And I'm glad that she asked the questions, because a lot of us don't have a law degree and don't know how everything works. And so we ask the same questions. But absolutely, the district attorney has the power, can investigate, and also can make arrests. So we have confirmation that Yvonne Rosales was investigating the El Paso Community Foundation because of the way funny money, the way they were handling and passing out the funds, specifically to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Tens of thousands of dollars to her. Now, the other point that Team Fine Richard Halliday made, federal court filings are public record. There is no amicus filing in the SB4 case from anyone. This is pretty easy to resolve. Just post the amicus brief with the court stamp. Okay, I posted the amicus everywhere. We'll see. We filed it this weekend. We've received evidence back. We submitted a supplement with more evidence that we were sent over the weekend, and we'll see. And as soon as we get it, we will absolutely do that. But you know what? I don't have to really prove anything. It is Bill Hicks that has to prove something. Bill Hicks that is being investigated. I'm not being investigated. Bill Hicks is being investigated. Bill Hicks is the one that hasn't produced his statement of officer with the stamp by the Secretary of the State. We don't know if he has one because it's not out there. And he could resolve this very easily by showing everybody his statement of officer with a stamp, with the timestamp from the Secretary, the Secretary of State. Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm not, having to prove anything here. So this is something that Bill Hicks has to prove. We have tried numerous times to contact him, but like I'm saying, they don't want to respond. He doesn't want to do his job, and we have evidence, absolute evidence, that he did not submit his secretary to the Secretary of the State his statement of officer until the 26th of January. So, and here he took office, took his oath of office uh, in December of 2022. So, you know, and a month later, she doesn't have it. We have the emails, we have the proof, we submitted it. So we'll see if we get the stamp. We'll see. We just did it. We have to give them a little time. So we're pretty quick, but they're a little bit slower. We've been waiting for a long time for Bob Moore to get in touch with us, and he hasn't gotten in touch with us a long time. And we have probably just about a dozen times tried to make contact with him. And yet today he comes on a live stream to do this. And then El Paso Matters fails to even cover Richard's case. And it's a big case. And the other thing, let's see. Let's see. And that doesn't sound so nice. Next, district attorneys don't investigate anything. Okay, that's wrong. Yvonne Rosales didn't investigate the El Paso community. No, we have confirmation that Yvonne Rosales absolutely opened up an investigation to El Paso Community Foundation, specifically for the monies that Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, tens of thousands. And let me tell you another thing, is that when people get money, that's all being talked about. That was all being talked about. And so that's not, like no one knew. And it was all talked about that the baby, the Achondo baby, had not gotten any money. So, that's, that was definitely being investigated. The two groups that collected funds, yeah, we know about that. Joanne Bernal is not the county. Okay, so yeah, well, she absolutely is county attorney, and she prosecutes, the county prosecutor. And you have to go to El Paso Matters that was used for this Mexican, because it's not really, this whole resignation is not being aired that I know of. This was a Spanish language post that was using El Paso Matters, and I translated it. It translated to the county prosecutor. So, and I posted that. So anyway, but like I said, I'm not on trial. I do not have to explain, prove anything. This is for the DA to do. This is for the Army to do. This is for Senator Cruz to do. This is for Veronica Escobar to do. This is for the FBI to do. This is for the CID to do. This is for the El Paso Police Department. This is why we pay them the big bucks. This is why we pay the big bucks. And if I was in El Paso, because El Paso is being taxed so heavily, I've been talking so much today, so heavily, they absolutely are taxed so heavily for all of these services. Okay, where are they? What's going on? And so I think that they are sick of it. That's why we're getting the information in. And it's the DA office that's upset with us. It's the El Paso Matters and El Paso Community Foundation, because we did the research and we found out. Could you imagine the shock, the surprise that we had when we found out that El Paso Matters is owned by El Paso Community Foundation and it has 100% control over El Paso Matters? Can you imagine? That is that because El Paso Community Foundation is a charity. So there are some major conflicts there. And that is surprising also because never does Bob Moore tell the community the truth that they are 100% by the El Paso Community Foundation. Now, that is what we've been discovering, and it is shocking. And we have tried and tried and tried and tried and tried again 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 at least a dozen times. Maybe 11 times. Maybe not quite a dozen times. Maybe, okay, like, let's reach out right now. Bob Moore, where are you? To explain this. So it's not like we have not reached out. We have reached out to get open records. We've been denied several open records, like the CPS. There is no sign of life of our son. We are getting to 4 years. They absolutely, the military, all of the agencies, the Department of State, the Department of Justice, all of them could absolutely help us get this information. And now, because of discovering one thing after the other, being the investigators, and then depending on other people that are doing really a good job. And I want to tell you, thank you so much for the evidence that you have sent us. Thank you so much. And then checking up on it, because we've had to, corroborate what evidence was sent to us, and to discover all of the family connection. There's so much nepotism in this, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. For example, Jesus Melendez. Jesus Melendez, the cop, the canine cop in the very well lit parking lot that makes a traffic stop, right? And he's a Ken. Now, there is just one irregular thing or circumstantial evidence or hard evidence, but there is so much nepotism. And this is a problem within the very, very well-funded law enforcement community. And they're not enforcing the law. They're breaking the law. So many of them are breaking the law. And they're not arresting. Why didn't they arrest Leilani Hart? Why isn't DA, illegitimate usurper, thief, Bill Hicks contacting us? That's his job. We have evidence. We have whistleblowers. We have witnesses. We have uncovered the connections of all of this. We have key suspects. We have videos. Even though they've tampered with videos, we still have videos. Even though they've tampered with audio, we still have audio. Even though they've tampered with the Interpol picture, superimposing Dallas Hart's image on top of Richard's photograph to sabotage the facial recognition ability of the Interpol, also within the mortuary. because they use that also for identification in mortuaries, this facial recognition. This was a huge crime. What Bill Hicks did is a huge crime. He could easily show his credentials, but he hasn't done it. And he's had months, if not more than a year, to show his credentials of these questions of people. And that's why the Walmart case cannot be brought forward, and he hasn't even let go of the Walmart case. Because he himself has conflicts of interest with Purchase Funeral Homes, but also he has another, think about this, at the end of this year, there's going to be a new DA. There's going to be a new Attorney General for the Western District. There is going to be a new county attorney, prosecutor. There is going to be, hopefully, a new medical examiner. Because Roskin Ortiz cannot be a medical examiner. He cannot be a chief medical examiner. He can go nowhere near. He is not legal. And yet he handled Glendon Oakley Jr.'s remains. He handled the remains. These are felonies of the Walmart mass shooting. And we are told he handled Richard's remains. And he is also a saboteur, also a usurper of that position. And I think we need some restitution. But this is when you know biblical law, you absolutely know restitution. And I am no lawyer, but I understand restitution because I'm a Christian. And when you can't make something right, and I've talked about this on live streams before, when there's nothing you can do to make it right, nothing you can do to bring back our son, the restitution is then the death penalty, you see. That's why, when these pedophile crimes are committed on children, there's nothing they can do to make that better and go away. And that's why in biblical law, the price you have to pay is your life. And that's why we have capital punishment, because when you take a life, there's nothing you can do to bring that person back. So the death penalty has to be on the table. And the crimes that are so bad that cannot be fixed, Bill Hicks is unable to prosecute. He's absolutely unable to prosecute. I'm sorry your son is missing. I'm sorry the Army treated you badly. But making up stories about federal court filings that are easily disproved doesn't help your son. I'm not making up the story. You might not believe me. What are you calling me, a liar? I'm not a liar. We filed with the court an amicus notice and a evidentiary supplement to the amicus notice. Now, if you don't believe us, fine. Go away. But we submitted it. And there's plenty of people that will back us up, that know that we submitted it because we sent it to so many lawyers. We had 19 parties that we sent it to, and then to the, you could ask Joanne Bernal, but now she's resigned. So Um, so absolutely. So there's no making up a story there. They just need to release Richard Halliday's remains to the family and give family Richard Halliday's justice. Enough is enough. Absolutely. And like Danielle just said, they needed to do that as soon as they had his remains. And do not forget, never ever ever forget that Nadal Baim, who we talked to on the phone, who we received the CCTV footage of less than an hour after he entered in a Dollar General store right there in El Paso and spoke to the cashier, and we videotaped her witness testimony and we handed that in. That Richard's remains were found by the FBI in Juarez, Mexico. And they lied to us about we had to work hard to figure out who he was. And they knew all along because he is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM, Richard's command, and also connected to the FBI. How do you think we found all this out? Because we had to, we needed to know who this man was that said the FBI had found Richard's remains. And and this Ruth Teller, my goodness. You think you can just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry about your son," and be done with it? That's not what has happened at all. Richard was a whistleblower. Richard was a US Army soldier. His case is connected in multiple ways. Extreme multiple ways through 3905 Bliss Avenue with multiple people of the Walmart mass shooting. Jesus Melendez being one of the latest ones with David Johnson. There's been a fraud committed on the people of El Paso. There's been a fraud committed on the courts. This is not, okay, well, whatever, you can't blame the courts. Yes. They have a duty, the Department of Justice, to answer for Joanne Bernal cannot ignore a reporter, a investigator, sending her evidence that Bill Hicks is a usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and she not asked for his credentials. She not asked Francisco Ortega, "Hey, attorney, where's your client's credentials? We have some questions here." And for Francisco Ortega, an attorney, to lie to the federal court. That's what it looks like to us here. And then for somebody that is not qualified, that has a questionable visa, is taking over chief medical examiner who has very questionable forensics experience and gets paid almost $500,000 a year and handles the bodies of our deceased loved ones when he is committing a felony doing it. And Bob Moore doesn't want to report on this? Bob Moore doesn't want to report on Richard's case. And we have been so scrutinized and bullied and everything. And you want to question that if I come on here and I say these things, that I'm just making them up? I'm not making them up. Bill Hicks is a usurper. Marian Raskin Ortiz is a usurper. Those are the two, I would say, just about the most powerful positions in El Paso. Our son, 1,363 days, no sign of life. And if you want a secret kept, you just add Richard's name there because nobody wants to say Richard's name. Well, we filed an amicus notice that you said doesn't even exist. It has to be an amicus brief. So you don't know what you're even talking about. Because all you have to do is Google amicus notice, and there it is. That was simple fix. That was a simple answer to the question, or to the statement, or to the misdirection. So you want to add to the misinformation people have been fed? And then just say, oh, well, I'm just so sorry about your son. And I'm thank you for that. But he was a whistleblower and not protected. Glendon Oakley Jr. was a whistleblower who absolutely connected the military with Walmart. And because of these live streams, because of reaching out to people about Glendon Oakley Jr. and what he had seen, and M4s, and learning about M4s, then we received information about the brown tip bullets. And then you look at pictures, and you do not see gun shells, shotgun shells, any kind of shells in the background of Patrick Crucius, who has also conflicts of interest, nepotism with this whole group. You think he's just a nobody coming out of Allen, Texas? No. No. He's connected. And this is why they've wanted to keep this whole case a secret. It was an orchestrated, a very satanic, because I don't know what level of evil that something has to rise to or lower to be called satanic. But this is so evil, that's the only word that I know to describe this. It's so evil. To take an autistic young man who has a severe mental health condition and groom them into that, because he absolutely is implicated in this and will spend, 1,000 years in prison? But he was not alone. He was not alone. He could not have done this alone. And Glendon Oakley Jr. absolutely connected that this was not a lone shooting with many other witnesses, and that this was connected to the military. And therefore we received the brown tip bullet information. And you look into brown tip bullets because, a lot of people don't even know about them because they are not registered, right? Because they're for special operations. They're for M4, short barrel M4 rifles. And Bob Moore doesn't want to cover this story? And he just gets upset when we have questions, when we know this is legitimate questions. And, the whole thing with the SB4 is that the governor now, this is on our list to continue writing, but the governor, he is trying to uh, uh, I guess stop an invasion into our country. I don't know if he's trying hard enough. He should have done it a long time ago. But he's trying to handle this whole political and legal and political, right? It's kind of like justice and righteousness, righteousness and justice. You can't have one without the other. And he appointed Bill Hicks, so he needs to ask Bill Hicks's credentials. And the Senate, the Texas Senate, needs to be made aware that a fraud has been perpetrated on them. So that's why this is like this makes our government work, because now the Senate has to look, oh my gosh, has a fraud been committed on us? Has a fraud been committed on the courts? Has a fraud been committed on us? Has a fraud been committed on the governor? And this is serious. And Bob Moore doesn't want to, he just gets upset because he can't be his fake news political attack dog now. He has to lower himself to be a fake account, or to go onto the saboteurs site and participate with those that we consider prime suspects for the murder of our son, prime suspects for the cover-up of the murder of our son, which we have pleaded with over and over again before it's too late to come clean. Because the time is short. And we've had to endure the death threats and the bullying and everything and the retaliation. And not just us, but look at Glendon Oakley Jr. He suffered severe and continuous retaliation like Richard, and was found dead April 8th, 2020 in his barracks room on Fort Bliss. And please God, I mean, we have the intelligence that's telling us that it was Rascon Ortiz that handled his remains. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And it was not really in the news. And he's a key witness that the military is involved with the Walmart mass shooting. And it's not in the news? I mean, that should have been like international news, that he was found dead in the barracks. The barracks of Fort Bliss? And nothing to see here? Are you kidding me? I hope he gets justice. I hope he does. Praying for that. Okay, let's see. Okay. They just need to release Richard Halliday's remains. Yep. Here is a Texas law governing medical examiners. There is no requirement that a medical examiner be a citizen. It is not a judicial. It is a judicial position. Why are you spreading this false information? It is a judicial position. Crazy. The only person, a medical examiner can issue subpoenas warrants. A police officer cannot do that. A judge can only do that. And this is not me saying so. This, not just us saying so, but this is confirmed information. The only person connected to your son's case and the Walmart shooting is Roger. No. There is so many. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, Danae Katzen, Leilani Hart. Oh, yes. Jesus Melendez, David Johnson, Alexander Hoffman, 3905 Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue. So many connections, extensive connections with Richard's case and the Walmart mass shooting case. That even is binational. And Judge Roger Rodriguez is the whistleblower that submitted the complaint to many agencies that our son's case was being tampered with. A judge sent Senator Ted Cruz a formal whistleblower complaint in his office, right? And that was kept from us. And Bob Moore doesn't want to report on that. He wants to use a Dreams Cabaret convicted criminal and mother of Richard's platoon leader to discredit our whistleblower. And when we reached out to say, what's this all about? Why are you targeting our son's case? Why are you targeting a very important witness and whistleblower? I get to talk to Angela Kachurga, and she doesn't care anything about Richard's case. All she's like is he helping you? Is he helping you? And I'm like, he helped us. He submitted, what do you call submitting a whistleblower complaint to the FBI? Why isn't Leilani Hart arrested? Because she had unauthorized access to the CID files, which was corroborated by her husband, James Courtney Hart, and that she was having an illicit sexual adulterous affair with a CID agent, Tavita Nusa. Now, what do you call it? That's called help. That's called help. And I'll be forever grateful for that help. And it was Leilani Hart that introduced us to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, because it was El Paso Matters, in their interview of Leilani Hart, convicted criminal Dreams Cabaret, getting her mail there, up to no good, that mentioned Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. It was the CID that told us we have to investigate, we have to bring leads forward. Well, we brought a lead forward, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And what a shocker that her address was the same as Danae Katzen's. What a shocker. And doesn't that connect Richard's case to the Walmart case, where she is this a widow wannabe? A widow wannabe to collect the money? And what connection does she have with El Paso Community Foundation? Because that connection goes back decades. Decades. She is no stranger to the board of El Paso Community Foundation. And she received tens of thousands of dollars from money that was supposed to go to real victims. And she divorced Alexander Hoffman in the early 2000s. Her address, 3905. The last time I looked, Alexander Hoffman was not living at 3905 Bliss Avenue. And I want to know about her visa. Something is shady with all of this. And then we find out that Thomas Hoffman, her son, and her are targeting Richard. Finding Richard. Because it goes over into the AG, Attorney General's office for Chihuahua, Mexico, where, we discover that the missing persons report that we submitted was tampered with. They took advantage of us and tampered with the language of the missing persons statement on a whistleblower, a U.S. Army soldier. Yeah. And the Department of Justice is playing patty fingers with the cartel over there. The Department of State. The Department of State is playing patty fingers with the cartel. And then Paxton comes out, Attorney General Paxton comes out and says, yes. And this gets deleted because I posted it and they deleted it. But you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, the MTG. She comes out and says, yeah, the cartel is controlling the border. They're making it public knowledge. And when I say that we have evidence that that is the case, that needs to be investigated. They said bring leads. We're bringing leads. We allege that the border is being controlled by the cartel, and the border is El Paso. And it's Juarez. And we have a dirty FBI agent. We have a dirty CID agent and another dirty CID agent. And we have some very dirty generals. And now we have a dirty DA and a dirty medical examiner and a dirty IG. It's not a huge group, but they are in key positions. And we can't forget James Courtney Hart, because they have, another James Hart. James Courtney Hart. That's how you distinguish them. Who his wife gets the FBI to accept her complaint that he's engaged in incest with his family, purchasing firearms illegally, that they are in possession of child pornography, that a 7-year-old dependent, an Army dependent, 7 years old, is raped in her master bedroom by multiple members of her household. This is not me saying it. This is Leilani Hart saying it, writing it, notarizing it. We talked to the notary. He said yes, he notarized that. I don't think I need to defend myself. I think that the law enforcement agencies need to get busy and do their work. Because either a lot of people needed to be arrested, or Leilani Hart with Tavita Nusa needed to be arrested. And where is Judge Robert Shook? Okay, so Judge Rodriguez is a whistleblower that there's tampering going on in the CID. But where is Judge Robert Shook and Judge Penny Hamilton? And what's going on with Judge Madrano? He can't even issue a schedule for Patrick Crusius's mental health evaluation. And we are 5 years. 5 years. And, we have yet to confirm that he had a mental health evaluation. And Amy Snoddy with the monies, the millions and millions of dollars that this has cost, and we don't even get a mental health evaluation for the millions and millions of dollars that the Walmart case and Richard's case has cost us. And I say us because it has cost us. Patrick Crusius admitted in federal court that he was a gunman and had no accomplices. Well, if you've ever been friends with, taught a person with severe mental health condition, this is why we need to know this. This is why we need to know if he was coached. Was he there? Yes. Are there multiple witnesses testifying? This is why they don't want the case to go forward, because there's multiple. Easy peasy. You get on, even though they have tried to hide these witness testimonies that there were multiple shooters all dressed in black. Well, let me tell you, Patrick Crusius wasn't all dressed in black. And when he came through that door, there were no shells in the background. And you have to understand that Memo Garcia was already shot, that there were already shots going off in the parking lot. Yet in that picture of Patrick Crusius, there is not a shot. And here he is doing, and this is where it is not corroborated at all, but you have Ernest Christopher Grant, total criminal, okay? And he's been ghosted. They're protecting him. They don't protect Glendon Oakley Jr. They protect Ernest Christopher Grant, who's a criminal, whereas Glendon Oakley Jr. was so beautiful. They didn't protect Richard, who's so beautiful. Just watch that video. He's so beautiful. And yet they protect this Ernest Christopher Grant, who says the most despicable things. And when you look at Patrick Crusius, there's no evidence when he surrendered himself of anything like that. He is totally in clean clothes with clean white sole shoes. Sorry, that doesn't cut it. Where is the forensic evidence? Look, even I can see that this was a setup. Total setup. Orchestrated. The story that I read introduced me to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia through Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart mentioned her name. I looked it up. That's how that happened. And it didn't jive. It didn't jive. And I'm always a little bit interested in that. And I have to say, for Team Farm Richard Halliday, it was me being interested in that case because my parents were part of the German American Club there on Fort Bliss in El Paso years ago. And I'm like, Alexander Hofmann, Mom, do you know Alexander Hofmann? You were in the German American Club. You knew those Germans that were killed in the plane crash, that there was never a word spoken. She's never recovered from that because those were some of her friends back then. So we're no strangers to El Paso, and we knew that there was Germans there, primarily German officers, and they were scientists, they were rocketeers, they were missile experts, things like that, because my parents were friends with them. We used to go to the German commissary. They just left a few years ago. But there was a German post right there on Fort Bliss. And so that interested me. Who was this German that was murdered in the Walmart mass shooting? So when Leilani Hart mentioned in the article Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia was featured in many German, the Frankfurter, and so I went and read. Though I speak German, I can read German. And she's committing a fraud. She's committing a fraud. And she's connected with Leilani Hart. And she's connected to Danae Katzen, who also committed a fraud with KTSM. Do you understand that, Ruth? Or is your name Bob? Maybe you're Bob Moore because you're saying the same things Bob Moore tried to say earlier, but now are you for some reason I have Chris Martin in my head. Like this sounds like Chris Martin, but I don't know. He used to write me volumes. The Walmart case has gone forward in federal court. Crucius was represented by very experienced attorneys. They said something was wrong with the case. The federal court said there was something wrong with the case, and that's why they could not give him the death penalty. That was, like, you're doing the things that Chris Grant wants you to think that Patrick Crucius did, and the federal court couldn't get a death penalty for him. And we're 5 years in and we can't even get a mental health check on him, evaluation, much less a capital murder death sentence out of the DA office in El Paso? Come on. I think that Ruth is up to no good, whoever this fake account is. And I'm sorry if you're not a fake account, but I have every right to think you're a fake account because you're saying really ridiculous things. And we've been plagued with fake accounts, right? And I don't know why the DA there in El Paso is still collecting money, leaving. Look it's not me. Loretta Lynn Hewitt says they're leaving it in pieces. That Bill Hicks is a political opportunist. That John Briggs is up to no good, right? And that Diaz was up to no good, So I have to dig up that that article, but that article is an amazing article. There's several articles that we have just read over and over again as far as trying to, go through it. And El Paso Matters, we went through and we even posted it. We went through with a red pen. And Leilani Hart is definitely not a reliable source. And we tried and tried again 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 to reach Bob Moore, to let him know, and we submitted it all, that Leilani Hart was not a reliable source and that this was interfering in our son's case. And yet they wanted to commit a fraud, obstruct justice, interfere, tamper with, lie. Yeah, no wonder Bob Moore doesn't want to address us because we know, we've taken his mask off and he's under the control of a charitable, the El Paso Community Foundation, which is, I think it's illegal. Is it illegal to be a political attack dog, El Paso Matters, but be owned by the El Paso Community Foundation? I don't know. Yeah. I hate the fact that people come on these lives with fake accounts, can't even have enough strength to be yourself or show face because the individual is embarrassed on how evil they are. And they also have access to people's social security numbers and identity, and they are identity thieves. They are identity thieves, and they make a living out of being stealing people's identities. And I'm praying that they don't do it through the chief medical examiner's office. But they get in these positions and they steal identities. And, and oh man, they're imposters, and they collect funds on it. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is a little example of that. Now, I don't know if she's posed as a different identity, but she's saying she is something that she's not, and collecting money on it. And, so we'll let the investigators, because there are some really amazing investigators out there, and we have gotten confirmation that that is going on right now. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Please share, comment, and like.